Hey, hello, and welcome. Welcome to another session of this second edition of the Global Dev Week, an initiative by Encora. I'm so glad to be here presenting and introducing this session, the impact of generative AI on learning services providers and learning and development functions. My name is Alexis Flores. I'm part of the Mexico team, and I'm so very happy because here with me are part of the Indian team. Here with me is John Matcha and Sagar. Let me just make a quick overview about your bios in order that the people knows you better. John is an experienced learning consultant with a keen eye for identifying and targeting critical performance enablers that make training successful, resulting in behavioral change and organizational growth. He helps clients adopt a strategic approach toward addressing competency gaps through learning by getting to the core of their business needs, organization culture, and people. He loves wearing multiple hats and always seeks to support Encora's objectives and goals in whichever way possible. But mostly important, what drives him is being able to help people overcome hurdles. He's a great listener and loves helping people connect the dots. By his part, Sagar has more than 18 years of experience, and I must confess, and I'm so impressed about this point, Sagar, because we were talking that the 18 years of experience is being part of the Cora's family and the Cora's history. So it is a very nice input to share with the audience. Um, he were developing a frameworks, templates, e-learning courses, and different web-based custom solutions, including gamification. Responsible for understanding client requirements and provide best suite technical solutions, overlooking technical developers for ensuring quality output. Consultancy for multiple technical areas across projects and relationships. So, guys, I don't want to spoil anything else about your session because I'm sure that you will share with us really significant content. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Appreciate the lovely introductions. And greetings to you all. It's a great honor and privilege for both Sagar and myself to be able to conduct this session today on the impact of generative AI on learning services, providers, and learning and development functions. So, I guess over the last few days during Dev Week, and there's been a lot of buzz around Encora as well about generative AI, and we've been hearing and learning about how generative AI impacts several of our work streams here. Some of our teams have been sharing about how generative AI helps them harness the power of user story creation in agile projects, and how they've been able to incorporate generative AI into the test automation pipeline, or how various code synthesis tools are leading to a significant improvement in the overall performance of our software engineers. But in this presentation, we want to focus on our work stream. Sagar and I come from the learning services, digital learning services work stream. And so we want to focus on how generative AI impacts us, learning services providers, and other learning and development teams as well. So I guess for the last 8 months, we've been held mesmerized and enraptured by generative AI's vast capabilities in terms of content generations. Be it text to text capabilities or text to image, text to video, uh, text to audio. It's just amazing and crazy what generative AI can do. And because our learning services primarily revolve around designing, developing, and enhancing content to create impactful learning interventions, so all of what generative AI has to offer in terms of text to image, text to video, and text to audio capabilities impact us in a big way. And that's essentially what our session is going to be about today. I'm going to start by talking about giving you a bird's eye view of generally how generative AI is disrupting the learning services industry. Then we're going to talk through a small POC that we worked on to showcase how ChatGPT can sort of perform instructional design tasks, and we'll get into more about that a little later. Then Sagar will discuss how generative AI is sort of playing a big role in optimizing various programming efforts related to creating learning collateral, digital learning collateral. And he's also going to be sharing with you an excellent POC on computer vision, showcasing how computer vision can be leveraged in training. So a lot to look forward to. And once again, thank you for joining us in this session. Let me begin by talking about how generative AI is impacting learning services primarily. I guess a lot of you have already experimented in various ways with what a lot of generative AI tools can do, ChatGPT, Dolly, and you've tried your hands with different types of prompts. You've seen what its text-to-text capabilities are, text-to-image, and so on and so forth. And if you've been active, if you're interested in learning and development, if you've been active on social media platforms like LinkedIn, you may have also seen how it's helping learning and development as well. It's already been, we're already seeing examples of how generative AI can help us generate curriculum content by creating educational content quizzes, interactive scenarios, or even entire courses. It can help us create personalized learning journeys. I mean, that's a large goal for us as learning services providers to sort of be as specific with our target audience as possible. And we try to sort of address individual learning needs wherever we can, but it's difficult to do that because I mean we usually look at mass rollouts, but generative AI can actually help us develop personalized learning journeys. And automated tutors are becoming parts of offerings that some organizations are already sort of starting to do. I mean, Khan Academy, which is in the K-12 space, is doing a lot towards coming up with an automated tutor. They've launched this in the US for the moment. So learners can interact with virtual tutors and chatbots and so on. So the way Khanmigo works is that a student sort of types in their question and query related to content that they're looking at on the platform. But instead of providing the answer right away, the chatbot sort of guides them towards like a coach, like how they should be thinking, and not giving them the answer right away. It also helps with evaluation and feedback. Assessments can be automated using generative AI. It can help sort of detect performance patterns and predict learning needs. And then anything related to data, you can imagine that generative AI tools would be really, really capable with. So they can analyze large amounts of data, providing insights on learning behaviors and course effectiveness and so on. And then can help with generating digital media content, which is something that AI can really help with. And Sagar will be going into also in a little more detail further down the presentation. So, having seen all of these capabilities, we thought, why not see how exactly we can sort of leverage, generative AI in our learning services space. And I come from a function which is called instructional design. And essentially, what an instructional designer does is sort of, come up with the large vision of how an entire curriculum at times, or maybe how a course should, what sort of instructional elements it should contain, the instructional approach, the instructional strategy, and so on and so forth. And so I was interested to see, given like if it's possible to sort of feed content into ChatGPT, sort of automate the process of doing some of the instructional design tasks that I and some of my team members perform. So I've got like a broad level, list of tasks that instructional designers typically perform. What we do is we analyze learning needs and requirements based on the client need. We assimilate and analyze content. We frame instruction strategies. We create course outlines that we sort of capture the broader vision of how the what the overall instructional approach is going to be, and then we create storyboards that detail the interactivities, the knowledge checks, scenario-based activities, game-based activities at times, and the different interventions that would sort of enable the learner to learn in the best possible way. And all of what we create is used by our development teams, who sort of create the digital solution. And we sort of also create a formative course ending assessment. So I guess I was just curious to know whether ChatGPT could do all of these things and how efficiently it could do these perform these activities. And so the hypothesis that we came up with is that it will be able to ChatGPT will be able to retrieve relevant information from corpus of curriculum specific data, using an OpenAI retrieval plugin and vector databases, and then perform various instructional design and content writing tasks using the corpus of data as a primary source of content and using natural language queries. So the idea is that we don't, depend on ChatGPT for the content. As a learning services provider, we create custom learning based on the specific needs that our clients come to us with. And so we don't want to rely on ChatGPT for the content. We want to be able to provide the content that ChatGPT can then sort of perform the instructional design tasks on. And as part of this POC, we thought we should be able to demonstrate that GPT can, in fact, accurately and instantaneously generate ID ready content for use in training and development purposes. So I guess where all of this would then be leading to, I mean, if we were successful in identifying its capabilities, are to sort of create an app at some point in time with a front end and a back end, where we are able to sort of leverage ChatGPT's capabilities to perform tasks on specific data. The idea would be that we would continue to have precise control over the knowledge base for in context and relevant responses. And we would do this using the retrieval augmented generation process, combining Azure OpenAI services along with Azure Cognitive Search. That's the broader vision. And using its capabilities to find the most relevant piece of information, presenting top ranked information based on the queries and the prompts that we provided. So yeah, that and then ultimately the app would be able to perform detailed, informed actions with proprietary data. I guess the to sort of clearly mention what the end goal would be. It would be that knowledge would live outside of ChatGPT. We don't want to have ChatGPT being trained with the data that we provided, because the data is proprietary. The client data that we work with is always going to be proprietary, and it's always going to be a concern that we want to make sure that the data is secure, and we want to make sure that data isn't used to train the model. We are in control of the data. And from an enterprise point of view, any chat session that we create on that app would live entirely within the application. So while this is the larger goal, as you can see, it does require a lot of work to sort of even start working on the app. Before we get to the point of working on an app where we are leveraging Azure OpenAI services along with Azure Cognitive Search, we thought it would be great to sort of see whether ChatGPT can actually maintain a corpus of data within itself for the moment, for us to sort of test case to see whether it can actually perform these instructional design tasks. So came up with this prompt where we basically asked ChatGPT to create a corpus of data with a unique identifier for this demo. And here's what we ended up with as a prompt. We said, I'll provide you with a corpus of data in the form of multiple inputs. I will begin the corpus with a single input in the form of a start identifier on a single input prompt, and end the corpus with a single input in the form of a concludent identifier. And all the prompts between the start and conclude identifier are to be treated as a single corpus of data, which will then ask for a specific task to be performed on by using a prompt that begins with the task identifier. So then we instructed GPT to use the corpus associated with the identifier as a primary source of knowledge when responding to the task requests. So as soon as we put the prompt in, it was great to see that ChatGPT was acknowledged what we wanted to do. It said it was on board. It said, please provide me with a corpus of data, and I will use that as a primary source of information for the tasks related to that identifier. The next part of it was basically identifying, non-proprietary content, so to speak. So just found something that was freely available and obscure online to sort of use as a use case for this particular POC. So I picked up this brewing science manual because it felt like, okay, there wouldn't be a vast amount of training information probably available on it. There might be, I'm not sure, but the assumption is that they wouldn't. But for the purpose of this POC, we started feeding that data in. Of course, as you can see on top, we started with the start identifier and then started pushing the content into ChatGPT to build the corpus. And as you can see, I mean, I probably put in about 400 to 500 words at a time, because that's primarily because the ChatGPT has a limited number of tokens that you can put in at one time. I think it can take in about 2048 on ChatGPT 3.5, and a little more perhaps for ChatGPT 4. But that's the amount of text at a time that you can probably put in. So that's how I sort of chunk the content into different sections to feed it into ChatGPT. And as soon as I put the content in, the first part, you can see that it absorbed the content, and it kind of like exhibited that it had active listening skills. It said, I understand. And then it said, the provided corpus about brewing science talks about the important role that science plays in the art of brewing. And of course, it just gave a small summary of, the content, just to let me know that it was listening. And then I continued with the process of putting in content. The manual that I had downloaded had about 64 pages, but I thought about 6 to 10 pages would be sufficient for the purpose of just checking out to see what it could perform. And I continue to build the process following the corpus of content with the same process. And each time I put in the content, ChatGPT would say, it would immediately give me a high level summary of the new inclusion of content that I put in. And I ran through this exercise, like I said, for about 5 or 6 pages. And after which, once I felt like it had enough content in there, I said, let's start with the first task, which is the learning needs analysis, kind of tying back to the six tasks that I showed you earlier on in the presentation. So I said, task one, learning needs analysis. The prompt that I gave it was draft a detailed learning needs analysis based on the potential audience based in North America for a brewing science course. And I provided the task identifier on top. As you can see, it says task brewing science. And then it just, in a matter of seconds, just gave me this rather elaborate learning needs analysis. It was quite nice, and it just said, give me the audience background and skills, and it said, okay, so the primary audience would be home brewers interested in expanding their knowledge and skills, professionals in the brewing industry who want to deepen their understanding, and so on and so forth. And it detailed what the learning needs of this audience potentially could be. That it could be about scientific concepts, a solid foundation in the science behind brewing is critical, and technical skills, and it listed the course objectives as well. And saying by the end of this course, the learners should be able to understand and apply scientific processes, operate brewing equipment effectively, and so on and so forth. So it did that pretty well. And then the interesting thing is that it also mentioned what the potential learning barriers would be with the specific target audience that I mentioned in the prompt. And it said that the concepts could be a little complex from a scientific standpoint. Learners could probably lack the practical experience required for them to be able to sort of work through this course. They might not have necessary equipment, to be able to do to learn critical things about the course. And there could be variations in measurement units based on the content that I supplied it, based on whether they're following metric or the imperial system. So those were some of the learning barriers that I talked about. And then from there on, I asked it to perform the second task, which is a content analysis. And I said, provide a detailed learning content analysis based on the corpus of content stored under the brewing science identifier. And it did pretty well with this as well. Again, it just, based on the content that I showed it, it gave me like a gist of the content. Again, it reiterated what the learning objectives would be, what the pedagogical considerations would be, and then it identified some of the knowledge gaps, which was again very interesting and good. It spoke about how there's not enough information about the brewing process. Excuse me. And maybe not enough information about the role of ingredients, not enough information about quality control, and so on and so forth. talked about the learning level. Then I asked her to frame an instructional strategy, um, both for an interactive digital course as well as an in-person classroom course, and it did precisely that. As you can see, from an interactive digital course point of view, it had included some interactive elements that I could include in the course, the checkpoints, real-world scenarios that need to go in, provide some tertiary resources, supplementary resources like reading materials, videos, and so on and so forth. All of it would make it a well-rounded instruction strategy for a digital course. And then it gave me an instructional strategy for classroom delivery as well. So it spoke about, apart from the lecture and classroom, it spoke about hands-on activities, demonstrations that need to be included, group projects, and field trips potentially that could be organized, and concluded with the formative and summative assessments. So from here on, I was able to ask it to create a course outline, which was task number 4. And the interesting thing about this is I told it to do it in a tabular form, and I said, the course outline should chunk all of the content provided in the corpus with the identifier brewing science into different screens, should prescribe the appropriate digital interaction, and so on and so forth. And it did that. It created everything in a digital, in a tabular format. It did it at a pretty high level, but again, I mean, it identified the screens, which mapped very well with the amount of content that I put in. It did step outside the boundaries of the content. It didn't talk about what potentially could be included. It just stuck with maybe the 6 to 10 pages that I had uploaded to it. And for each time, it mentioned an appropriate learning interaction for each topic. And then from there on, it was about creating a storyboard, with interactions, scenarios, and knowledge checks, and so on. And again, for this, I asked her to do it in a tabular format. I asked her to sort of add developer notes, and narration, on-screen text, everything that would make it go towards developing it as a digital course. It did that pretty well again. It created the storyboard in tabular format as requested. But as you can see, I mean, it didn't go into the level of granularity that maybe I was interested in. Our storyboards tend to be a lot more detailed. In order to see whether it actually was paying attention and listening to what all of the content that I, um, pushed into the corpus, I asked it to sort of focus just on one particular topic. In this case, as you can see, it was about beer recipes, and I basically asked it to sort of give me a detailed storyboard for just this particular topic. And For this, I asked it to give me like detailed developer notes, detailed narration, and so on and so forth. And fantastically enough, it showed that it was listening to all of that information. It just picked that one particular topic, did a complete deep dive, regurgitated all of the information that I provided it later on in a nice instructional way. And as you can see, it created the kind of storyboard that I want. So I guess if you're intending to use it, and as instructional designers consider using this, I guess it's about developing that level of patience with ChatGPT to sort of keep prompting it to go deeper, and it will be able to do it. And towards the end, I asked it to perform the last task for this POC, which was to create an end of course assessment. And I basically asked it to create some scenario based questions with 3 to 4 options for each question. And again, I asked it to create this in a tabular storyboard format. And again, it does this in a matter of seconds, excellently well. And it gave me scenario based questions as requested. It did very well. Yes. As you can see, I mean, it does go to show that ChatGPT can and generative AI tools out there can potentially contribute a lot in making instruction designers more efficient. I guess maybe not ready yet to replace instruction designers. Thankfully enough, because the level of input output that it provides is still, I guess, at a fundamental level. And so not to worry. I mean, it's not ready to replace instructional designers yet. But yeah, I guess just to just showcase what its efficiencies may be. In terms of content development, maybe about 15 to 20% of efficiency is what I see it being able to do. Again, these numbers that I've captured over here are my own. They're not based on any data or any detailed studies, but this is just entirely, from a sense of what experiments we have done so far with ChatGPT. So, in terms of rapid prototyping of content, it can probably help with 10 to 15% of efficiencies there. And then, if you're talking about learning and development teams in large organizations, they can definitely, leverage GPT for and other generative AI tools for data analysis and insights, and it could help them become more efficient by about 20 to 25%. And when it comes to learner support and engagement, again, this is keeping in mind, predominantly what a learning and development team might be supporting within organizations. So, I mean, if they have a chatbot in place to do, to provide the support that learners might need, it might enable the L&D team to become about 20 to 25% more efficient on the whole. So lots of promise. We are excited about everything that generative AI tools are sort of unpacking for us. We are absorbing it. We're really excited to see where it's going. And I'm going to hand it over now to Sagar to talk more about how it's helping us in other learning services capabilities. So, Sagar, over to you for the next few
Yeah.
slides.
Thanks, John. So today I'm going to talk about using different generative AI tools in learning development, especially in programming. Though it's related to e-learning or trainings, but it is also applicable to different tools, technologies across all programming languages and different domains. So these tools will help you to uh, streamline the programming process and also optimize the efforts. John, can I please move to next slide? Yeah. So first is a code analysis tool. So generally, we when you develop something for any training programs or e-learning courses, and we face some technical issues or syntax issues, we generally try to find out the issues manually by our own, and we try to solve the issues. With these code analysis tools, these AI tools, you can copy paste your code which has some issues, and this tool will identify errors, and this will help you in debugging the exact issue in the code. So with this tool help you to assess the quality of the code, and this will also check whether the code is as per the standards of that particular programming language. Beyond that, these tools also identify vulnerability issues or security issues, which are very critical nowadays. So, in case there are semi loopholes in the security, when you communicate with different systems, it will help you, and you can. And in fact, this tool will also guide you how to solve those issues. So while doing this tool also help you to create code documentation. So you don't have to worry about code documentation, and you don't need to manage it manually, which we do by our own. So real-time feedback and guidance is provided by different tools, and it help you to streamline the programming and optimize the efforts in e-learning development as well as in web application developments. We have tried different tools. So few of them are like ChatGPT, Code Guru. Code Guru is by Amazon, then Code Climate and Deep Code. Next is code generation tools. In general process, when we develop some code, and if we need some help to write the code, we generally Google it, and based on the search results, we copy and paste the code in our applications or in our training uh, courses, and modify it as per the requirement. However, these code generation tools, you can actually type in the requirement, and they will generate the code as per the specific task or as per your requirement. So this code is almost ready to use, and you can also modify it as per your need. So customization and personalization of this code is also possible by providing some inputs to these tools. So these tools are really helpful in rapid prototyping. So just mention the requirement, it will generate the code. You copy and paste the code and just make some tweaks, and your functional prototype will be ready. Even in fact, in e-learning or LMS related communication. If you have some issues, or if you want some inputs or help or code for LMS communication, you can type in the requirement, and this tool provide you the exact code that you just need to integrate in your e-learning training programs. So also, when you are learning some new to technology or programming language, you can ask these tools to write some code, basic code. So instead of searching this code, you just analyze the code, and this will also fast track your learning uh, process. Or the learning curve will be shortened because of this tool. We have tried different computer vision libraries, and these are really helpful as compared to traditional way of interacting with the courses or training programs. So you can use hand gestures for AR apps. So when we generally use AR app, we need to interact with the app using mobile screen. So whatever functionality we have in the app, you just need to use the traditional controls. However, with hand gesture, you can directly interact with the 3D model, which is augmented in the real life, and you can actually pick and interact with the models using the hand gesture. In traditional simulation, where we are using the mouse and keyboard controls to interact with the simulation, we can use hand gestures, and you can directly control with interact with the simulations using your hands or different gestures. Along with this, you can analyze the facial expressions to assess learners' emotions or engagement, or body gestures. So for non-verbal skills or the soft skill training, these points are really helpful, where you can analyze or scan learners' gestures, facial expression to analyze the trainings. Uh, this computer vision AI also help you to recognize the facial expression to develop emotional intelligence. So you can collect data from different learners based on the vision libraries, like where they are looking at, whether they are engaging, whether your training material is effective. So based on that analysis data, you can enhance the training material. These vision libraries are very helpful for the disabled people, where you can translate the learning content to some sign language and vice versa. So physically challenged people can also interact with your learning program using sign language. We can use different libraries like OpenCV, MediaPipe, CVZone for implementing computer vision AI in your different technologies. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we have few POCs with us, so I'll just share those POCs here. So these are few Python programs which we have developed for hand gestures and face recognition. So first one is for face and eye detection. So I run this program, and it will load, it will in fact capture the camera of your laptop or smartphone in case you're using smartphone. And if you see, it has drawn a blue rectangle which is actually detecting my face, and green rectangles that is for eyes. So based on this, you can track lots of data. Even you move around, like if you move your head, it will keep tracking each and every frame, and it will show you the face and eye detection. In case you have multiple faces in the camera, it will also detect faces and eyes for each person. Next is again a Python program to detect hand gestures. So when I run this program, again it will access the camera of your laptop or your mobile, and you can just raise your hand and it will start detecting. So if you notice here, it is showing some dots and lines. So these are the actually gestures that detects based on these points. So whenever you move your fingers or change your hand gestures, based on this point, it will take whether it's what kind of gestures you are actually using. So you can use thumb up, thumb down in finger up, open hand, different gestures, and based on the trigger, you can implement different features in your training programs. This one is a media pipe library. This is by Google. So the best thing about this is it is compatible with HTML5, JavaScript, Android, Python. So this is coupled with multiple platforms. So you can actually use it in your any code. And when you run these programs, now this one is for HTML JavaScript. So I'm running it from my PC on a local computer. So below the image, you can see different gestures which are detected. So it is showing open palm. Now, when I change the gesture, showing pointing up, then thumb down, thumb up. So these are different gestures which you can detect, and you can implement all these in your training programs to enhance the interactions and improve the engagement of the learners. So I hope this is helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on this presentation and for being a part of the session with us. We hope you've benefited from this. Do reach out to us for more information on learning services and how generative AI is impacting the services that we provide. We'd be happy to discuss further with you. Back to you, Joseph. And thank you.
Thank you so much, John and Sagar, for this amazing presentation. I think that, as you mentioned, and actually the entire Global Dev Week is taking in the first place the role that artificial intelligence is taking as part of our processes, as part of our daily lives. No, so this presentation probably will provoke many reactions in the audience. So I just want to make two reminders to the people who's watching this. The first is that please leave a comment or leave questions now on the live chat, because that's the way that John and Sagar will be reading you and answering anything related to this presentation. And also I would like to add that please do not forget to follow us on our social media, appearing now on the screen, because for us it's really important that you keep in touch with us for following projects. I have nothing more to add, just to thank you guys for being part of this session. It was a total pleasure to have you here, and that's it. Don't forget to return to the website, the official website of DevWeek, in order to watch the full agenda and to see the following session that's actually running now. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. My name is Joseph Flores. See you later.
Thank you.